So coming through here, like this section, you're doing all right. I usually go through here a little faster, but that's also dependent on NOS management. But you had a full bar. I would use a little more. I'd get up to like 230, 240, because this is like a pretty isolated straight. And then you have a big hairpin after, and you're turning right after anyways. So same here. You brake late, so that's one pattern, right? And then you're following the racing line and not the actual gutter, because you're not pointed at the gutter. But trust me, it's faster to brake into the gutter than to brake and then turn into the gutter after. Like just have your gutter be your turn in. So you missed that, and then you get a good exit, so you're still in contention with the guys in front, right? But then same thing happens here. You're not lined up with the racing line, but the racing line is already wide of the gutter. So you're going really wide here. And you missed your apex, and it's just not as fast as it could be, right? And then same thing happens here. But I mean, yeah, you get to the apex, right? But I think it's a lot more important to look at the gutter you're trying to get into, for one, and look at where you're going after. Like, where is your exit? Like, what is that going to look like? Because then same thing happens here. Like, the gutter is to the left, but I mean, I don't know if you're trying to take like road lines, but it's still faster to take the gutter. And it saves so much time to just line up straight into it. So if you go like a little bit left here, and you'd still need to brake a little earlier, but that's just experience with the tracks. So like I would brake, I would brake right as I'm coming down this crest, like right before. So like fourth gear, 160 miles an hour, right around here. This is where I'd brake, but I'd go right to the gutter and not on the road. And it makes a big difference. And then here, you miss the gutter again, you're on the road, you get into it, you get an exit, and then you hit this one, so that's good. And then you turn in a little early, so the car gets kind of ruffled out there. But yeah, hold on. Like your NOS management, it's improving. Like, I'm not gonna lie, you're getting better with it. You know what's up here, but in this section, I would use almost my whole half bar, because then you have 2 hairpins back to back, and that's enough time for you to usually get a full half bar back, unless you're in Formula One cars, and then it's a little different because you literally just go corner to corner. But with any other car, it's a little slower, so you'll have that full half bar back. So yeah, I guess going over this, what I'd change, I'd use a little more NOS here, brake here, brake earlier, okay, point at the gutter, trail brake into it, maybe, and then you're going through here, I'd use a little bit NOS, so you got that, but then this is already when I'm turning into the gutter. Like, I'm already turning in here, but then, see, that's a fraction of a second, and that's how much it takes for you to miss your turn entirely. And then my turn marker is right where that concrete wall is, that's when I, like right after that, when I pass that, I turn. Or actually, like right here. Like I'll go to the edge of the road and that's my turn point. Because I don't ever want to risk hitting these walls, and I hate this corner. Like it's just, I'm not risking that. I'd rather cut through the grass a little bit, because then I'm still hitting an apex, and I usually have a full bar and os. I'll use about 3/4 of it, because then I'll have extra for when I come out of here. And also for this corner, yeah, I start braking and everything like at this sign. Like I go a little earlier, and then I'll try to get into this gutter, all that, and then yeah, brake earlier and just point straight at the gutter. That's my best advice. In this clip, using the 993, right? So just go out of that corner, you take that one really good, and then you use a good amount of nos, but you brake a bit late here, and I notice you do that in a couple cars, especially the 993, and it's a little harder to. Well, never mind. You have to brake a little bit later, or a little bit earlier. And so you come out of this, but so you're in third gear, fourth gear. I would use a little more nos in fourth. I'd bang it up, because now you're just stuck at a full bar here, right? But then you brake into the gutter. You cut it just ever so slightly, a little too much, and then you turn in a little early, and so you're kind of in the gutter, but the car doesn't have that extra grip yet because it's not lined up in the gutter. So it's a little bit of precision work with getting your turn in, because you have to know the exact time and you have to get it perfectly lined up. So you went a little narrow, and then you turned in kind of early, but you get on the gas, and then nos, and then the same thing here. But the thing is, with the 993, you got on the gas too early, right? And that's something you have to be careful about. With these gutters in the 993, you have to wait a good second, and you have to make sure your car is actually lined up first. And I kind of pay attention to like the gap between my front left wheel, in this case, and the edge of the road in the gutter. And I use that to gauge like if I'm slowing down or if I'm speeding up. So if I'm speeding up, that gap will start to shrink until I'm just fully on the road. If I'm slowing down, that gap kind of expands. And so I use that as a gauge of my speed, to see what kind of input I need for this corner. So if I were lined up in the gutter, I I would probably hit the gas, even like here. Like the 993 starts understeering a lot once you get on the gas. And so you end up hitting the wall, but that's just the 993. And then, yeah, I know in my last video I said go wide, but that, like for hitting the gutters, you can only go as wide as you can confidently go. So if you don't feel like you can line up the gutter from here, then just point straight at it a little earlier on. Because then you're still gonna get into it and you're gonna be more consistent. And that's a big factor. You get in here, but you turn in early. Like your car is kind of lined up. If I were here, I would like I'd have to go an extra car length, at least, before I turn in. So you turn it early, and then you manage it, but you almost lost it because the 993 doesn't, like, it'll reject gutters sometimes. And then, yeah, you kind of, you brake a little late here and you're not pointed at the gutter. And I mean, if you're trying to take the line on the road, then it's still the same case. In that case, you have to brake even earlier. So you end up, max locking, and then you're stuck here. But yeah, one thing I'm going to point out, 993 especially, you don't need a whole half bar for third and fourth gear. You give a tap or two before you're going into this corner, just get up to speed, and then you don't need to max lock this. You got space on the road, and you hit your apex good, So a couple taps, and then I would use maybe a half bar for fourth, like half of my top bar, not the entirety of it. Because then fifth and sixth gear, you can get into fifth and sixth gear here, but you need that extra nos. Because the car accelerates slower in those gears. You need more nos for the later gears where your car can't accelerate. So my best advice is let the car do some of the work where it does it best. So just let the car accelerate a little more in third and fourth gear. Because like fourth gear, I'll use, half of my bar, the 993. Fifth gear, I'll wait a second and use half of my bar, let the car do the rest of the work. And then sixth gear, if I have space to get into sixth gear, I'll try to save extra nos. Because I'm not just banging out gear after gear. Like it takes a second to let your upper bar fill up enough to get up to speed. And that depends on how fast of a corner you're taking before you're on the straight. But with the lower gears, let the car do more of the work. Don't just choke it down with nos, because look at the RPMs. When you're banging down nos in third gear, you're just spinning the wheels, and you're literally getting less bang for your buck. Like just a couple taps, and then you're good. And then half bar fourth, half bar fifth. Like that, it's dependent on cars too. Like that's not just I use a half bar for every car in fifth gear. Like with the 993, I probably would. But like if I'm in the Yesco, that's a 9-speed. I'm not using a half bar for fifth gear because it'll accelerate through fifth gear in like 2 seconds anyways. So it's dependent on situations and circumstances. But yeah. So coming in through here, I would probably turn in even a little earlier. Like I would get myself pointed around here and then brake into the gutter. And I'd trail brake a little bit, but that's more advanced. So yeah, I'm in the gutter. I'd still wait a second because the 993, you have to wait once you're in the gutter. Like you don't just get back on the gas. So you hit that one good. But here, I would probably just point straight here. And then same thing. And come out here, 1 or 2 taps of NOS, take this corner without max lock. And I'd use half of it. I'd use half of my top bar for 4th gear here. Because then the car is still accelerating through this corner. But then I have way more NOS to get into 5th gear. And then typically in this section in Street 2, once I pass through here, I'll have another half to 3/4 bar that I can use to get into 6th and take this around 200 miles an hour, around 205, like a little over 200. But that's just a gauge you get once you're able to get to those speeds. But yeah, like banging out NOS in the initial like lower gears is NOS that you can't use in 5th and 6th gear, where your car just physically does not accelerate as fast. So I think it's really important to keep that in mind when you're coming out of corners, because I know you want to get up to speed as fast as possible, but if you use too much NOS to get up to speed in the lower gears, you literally cannot get up to the same speed after. So let the car do some of the work in the lower gears. Trust me, it makes a big difference. Alright, so what I'm noticing in this clip, just right off the bat, I noticed that you follow the racing line a lot, and I feel like that takes your attention more from where you're actually going. Because the racing line works if you are perfectly lined up with the racing line the entire time. But here, right here, you're not. You're already going wide. And I feel like in this case, you have to focus more on your apex and where you're going to end up rather than how you're lined up with the racing line. Because here, you already went wide. You're not lined up here. The racing line is already telling you you need to go right. You're going straight. You're going left of the racing line, and then you go wide, which makes you take a narrow line here. But you miss your turn in here too. So I'd say you need to turn already right here if you want to hit your apex and have space to take the next line fast. So you go wide here, and you end up max locking because you realize like that's not a full line. But the thing about max locking is that whenever you do it, you're automatically bleeding speed. Like no matter what, you are bleeding speed. And there's some cases where that can be a faster line, but here, you can take these corners like 220, 200, and then you go through here, you can get up to 230, take this corner, and then get off the gas, and come out wide here, right? And so, going through here, you're going around 200, that's good. And then you take these corners pretty good, right? But then I'm pretty sure you're going for the gutter, right? But you were following the racing line. I mean, you end up taking this line good as can be for it being on the tarmac, no gutter. But then you're here. And you're not pointed towards the gutter at all. You're trying to follow the racing line, but it's telling you you're already going too fast. You're not really lined up, so you go wide and you miss it. But my quick fix would be just drive straight into like the first gutter. Just drive straight into it and then turn. Because that saves the hassle of this. I mean, you can go wide for that too. Like, if you take this first gutter, you get to come out perfectly wide enough to save some time in this gutter. But you miss it, and then the car can't handle the max lock because you don't have grip. You don't have as much grip on the hills. So, same thing happens here. You try to go wide, and you're trying to use the whole track, and that's good. But you don't use all of it, which guaranteed, it's tough in this section because you just came out of this corner. But if you take the gutter, you have more than enough space to just go wide and then go straight into the next one. But same here. I would just drive straight into the first part of the gutter. I'd just go beeline straight for it, brake right before, and turn at the right time. And that takes timing, but it's doable. So here, you take this one good, right? And you use the whole track. And then you're going through here, you max lock. It might have been a flick, but I mean, that works, right? But my issue here is that you use your whole half bar. So right here, you're going 170. 1, 2, 3 seconds later, you're going 117, 120. And now you don't have as much NOS, but you have a big straightaway coming up right before the transition. So you go through here, you clip the wall. I mean, it's all right. It happens. Obviously, you don't want to do that, but it happens. And then you end up going around 220. So through there, I'd use a half bar here. I'd use half of my top bar, because then I know once I'm out of this corner, I'll have enough NOS to get up to speed. And then I won't have to use as much NOS getting up to 240, 250 once I'm in AGP. And yeah, I mean, I guess the way I'd go through here is just, I use the braking line more as a gauge of my own speed through the corners. But if I'm not following the racing line, then my turning point is different, and that's down to knowing the car and being used to your inputs. Which you don't seem like you're very adjusted to direct mode yet, and I understand that because it's tough. But sometimes you gotta recognize when I'm not lined up with the braking line, I have to turn in to hit the same apex at a different time. So here, you already went wide, and you made the corner, but now you're very narrow here, and you're turning with the braking line, but you go you miss your apex to some extent. Like, I'm not super wide, and it's not the end of the world, but like it looks like you were trying to line up with the racing line, but you're simply not going at that speed. You have to turn earlier, you're not using the same amount of track. And then you max lock, so that's bleeding. You max lock here, but you have all the space on the road for the corner exit. You like, some corners, you don't need to max lock. And then you're going through here. You max lock again, but that corner you do have to slow down. So I get that. And then this is good. But I would just drive straight at the gutter. I wouldn't bother trying to go super wide. I just brake straight into it, make the turn, and then I kind of just beeline. I go a little bit wider, but I go as wide as I can, where I know that I can still line up for the gutter once I have to turn back and brake into it. So it's like you don't have to go to the full edge of the road. It's just that depends on how precise you are with your own inputs and how adjusted you are. Because now you went wide. Looks like you're following the racing line again. But, I mean, at this point, you kind of have to just turn straight at the gutter, like here, to try to take it. But you went wide, and you missed it. And then this was good. So was this one. And honestly, this corner is a little tough, but I would use a half bar here. Then you hit that corner, you hit the gutter, but then you lost grip because I think you max locked in here and there's a hill, and a lot of cars can't keep their grip when you're exiting a gutter and max lock over a hill. So that happened, and then you don't have enough NOS to get up to full speed now. So yeah. Alright, this one. So right off the bat, this happens, and this corner just takes practice. It's a real pain, but my best marker is I'll go as wide to the left as possible, and then around when I see this sign, I'll let off the gas and just try, I'll go through the dirt, but I'll go to the right of the checkpoint, as far as I can, without trying to get airtime, because that'll completely spin the car out, and it's not fun. It's equally not as fun as this. So you end up going through here, and then you get into 8th. I mean, that's fine, right? You're trying to save up on your NOS, but here, I'm pretty sure you're in 8th gear when you should be in 7th, and then you use your NOS while you're turning and in the wrong gear. So, a second ago, let's see, 238, 204, and then as you use your NOS, you're at 198, and then you're at 191. So, I mean, just because you can use that NOS and the car won't spin out, doesn't mean that it's actually accelerating. Because you still came out slower because you were using all of your grip for turning, and because you were in the wrong gear. The car just didn't have the power. But yeah, one more thing is try to smooth out your inputs. Try to get really used to wheel mode or direct mode. I mean, that obviously takes practice, but every little mid corner adjustment is, it takes time away from the corner. And every time you use max lock as like a compensation for not getting the right turn in the first place, that bleeds speed too. But I notice in a couple other clips when you're in AGP, you kind of like, you yank the stick a couple times for one corner. So every time you pull the stick and then kind of put it back, that's its own separate turn. So sometimes I'll see you make like 4 little separate turns in a corner. But if you had one smooth input with like small adjustments, obviously, but one general input, then it's one turn, you know? And another person I know, I'm Patchy Poo on YouTube. Go check him out. He's fast. I mean, they gave me some advice for controller players because I'm on wheel, so I wouldn't really know. I've played Need for Speed Unbound, so I get the idea of what he's saying because I rolled the stick too, but rolling the stick, shit's hard, but if you get used to that, it lets you like figure out exactly where your max lock is, but it lets you make those adjustments in a fluid manner instead of like yanking the car around and unsettling the grip every time you need to make a mid-corner adjustment. So that's something that I think a lot of people still need to work on, but it takes time, and it'll probably feel like taking the corners for the first time all over again. But in my opinion, it's worth it. Because mid-corner adjustments, even though you can do them with direct mode, it doesn't mean that it's faster. But if you can make it one fluid turn, one fluid line, that's the best you could do. So going through here, you use your NOS, 8th gear. So your car is just struggling because you're going uphill too, and you're in the wrong gear. And yeah, I mean, you're not max locking through here, which is good, but you're not going as fast as you can be. And then you brake late, and then, max locking and on the gas. The thing about that is that even though your car can do that and stay on the road, when you're on max lock and on the gas, your car is on traction control, it's probably on ESP, like it's fighting, but when you're trying to overload the grip of the car that much, you don't get the best of either world. You're not accelerating as much as you could be, and you're not turning as hard as you could be. So at that point, I'd say, like max lock, off throttle for a second, and then just try to get an exit. But like continuously being on max lock, you're not accelerating. Like you're getting a tighter turn, but you could tighten it up a lot more if you just get off throttle and then get back on. Or like a couple little brake taps and then you're out of the corner. So yeah, I would brake literally right here. No, right here. Because then I get to make a turn in. And this is a tough part about AGP, but it's hard not to turn in early. Because it looks like you're hitting your apex here, but your apex, you're crossing over it here, and your car is already sideways, right? So that's what's tough about this corner. Is that you think you're hitting the apex, but you're really not, because the apex is here. So I like to turn in a little later. I'll keep going wide. Like, this is assuming I'm braking earlier too. And then I'll try to hit my apex, and my corner exit, I'll get to the edge of the road around here. So I'm coming out of the apex to about here. And then you go straight. With this corner, it's kind of precise, but my fastest line that I know is I'll get off throttle in 6th gear for a split second, and then, yeah, you just bang it out through here. For this, I'd say get up to 8th gear. Like, just use the extra nos, because it's still a straightaway, and he's probably going in 8th gear through there. And then you make this turn, but this little, like, switchback is tough, because I know you're trying to go wide, but you don't have space. Like, you have to start braking, like, quite a bit earlier, because then you broke a lot later than the track can let you, you know? So you went wide, and then late apex, you're going through here, you kind of cut it into the dirt, but that's okay. Here, that was good. And then you're going through here. Yeah, I feel like you're trying to follow the racing line, but if you're going to follow the racing line, you have to follow the colors too, because here, you're going too fast. And then, yeah, you make it through here. But I'd say you need to get more adjusted to direct mode, but in the sense that you already know what your lines need to look like. It's just that you need to figure out when to brake and how to, like, line up your car perfectly with the gutter and when to turn in properly. And also trying to keep one fluid turn instead of, like, yanking the car into max lock whenever you feel like you need to make an adjustment, because that bleeds so much more speed. Like, end of story. If you're max locking, you're bleeding speed. Yeah, that's about it for this one.